Champions, what's going on? Welcome back to your favorite sports podcast, Clocks on the Stove. Your usual host, myself, Grayson Fisher, with me, the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Zach Watts. Today, we're going to be breaking down a little MMA review on, what you might have missed or what you haven't seen, as well as going in and talking a little bit about this UFC 284 fight that's happening this weekend between Alexander Volkanovski and Islam Makhachev for the UFC lightweight world title, as well as the number one versus number two pound for pound fighters in the world. Before we hop onto that, like I said, a couple things we need to talk about that happened before there. First and foremost, I think it was yesterday, Zach. Dan Hooker broke his hand, correct?
Yeah.
Or maybe the day before.
Yeah, let me just double to verify the exact dates so we aren't wrong. By the time this pod released, there might be a little issue.
I believe it was Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll have it retweeted on our account for sure. So we'll let the fans know. Yeah, he will not fight at UFC 285. Mike Heck tweeted unfortunate news. Dan Hooker is out of his UFC 285 matchup.
When did he tweet it? Was it Wednesday?
20 out. This tweet went out 20 hours ago.
So he broke his hand training. All I saw was a picture that he posted that said "fuck," and it's just him in the hospital with his hand in a cast. That was a really good fight in my opinion. He's going to fight in 285, which is the Jones Gone card in March. He was going to be fighting Jalen Turner, which I thought was a fucking phenomenal fight. Two long guys that love violence, but it will not happen. They did say though, Zach Watts, that Jalen Turner is going to stay on the card and fight someone, which I like. I'm a fan of Jalen Turner. He's a good up and coming.
I'm gonna call it now. They're gonna feed him Moicano, or if they were smart,
like Moicano, like Hanato Moicano.
Yes, feed him Hanato Moicano. Last time we saw him fight on a card,
they fought back to back on the last card.
Yeah, extremely well. Great matchup for both of them. Both like to brawl. If Moicano wants to take it to the ground, he can. But then again, like very good style wise. Who I want to see though, but I don't know if the timing will match up. I want to see Mr. Drew Dober because he's been calling him out. And if Drew Dober hops in the ring with Mr. Jalen Turner,
short notice for Drew Dober. It's going to be a little less caliber guy, I think.
Yeah, that's why I feel like the best case scenario would be.
Does Bobby Green have a fight announced?
I don't know.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, honestly, I'm also seeing Gamrot's name being thrown out there.
I feel like it's too short notice for someone of that caliber. Oh, he's Bobby Green's fighting Jared Gordon in his retirement fight.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a banger of a fight too. Holy shit.
Yeah. Or how do we feel? Yeah, dude. I'm just seeing a lot of
honestly, I don't have
Gamrot
a thought. It's gonna probably be somebody not that relevant, but they're just throw him a bag to fight it because Turner's already.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's what 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away. It's just, yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't think anyone too big of a name. That's a risky fight to take, dude. Jalen Turner is what?
Turner's not a pushover.
55, 6'1", 6'2", 155. Yeah, so you want a full camp for that, but him versus Hooker would have been a war, I think.
Yeah, I still think I don't know. I still think Turner would have pulled through. I will admit I just had a lot of hate on Dan Hooker, but he did really well against Duplessis. But then again, like he showed good takedown defense. He didn't really
Dude, how do you hate on Dan Hooker? He's fought everyone.
Dude, just the way okay, if I would have never heard him speak on a platform, I think I would have still loved the guy. I still love him as a fighter, but
that's right. We've talked about this. Yeah,
yeah, just
kind of a bitch.
Yeah, I just think he's just runs his mouth a little too much. But I respect him as a fighter, utmost respect for fighting whoever it takes. But just I don't think some people don't deserve a platform. He's just one of those guys, man.
Oh, dude, he's such a wholesome guy though. Like when he was fighting during COVID, when he fought Dustin Poirier, and he fought another one, I think, and he had to wait 2 weeks to see his daughter. Have you seen those pictures? They're he's standing at the gate, and his daughter and his wife are there, and it's just sad, dude. It's just. He's a good dude. I understand he might be a little bit of a piece of shit when there's a microphone in his face, but he's a wholesome guy. But let's move on from that. Yeah, he's not going to be fighting. His hand's broken. You can fight sometimes with some broken things. Hand is not one of them.
Hey, I will say Clay Guida did fight with 2 broken hands.
That was Uriah Faber.
Right, Faber, excuse me. Just threw elbows.
Yeah, but that happened in the fight. But yeah, that's crazy, bro. Like, oh my God. Yeah, anyways, we'll move on from that. Next, we had Johnny Eblen, Bellator middleweight world champion, defend his belt. Dominant 5-round, I believe 50-45 unanimous decision on the co-main event of the Fedor Ryan Bader card. I personally, I'm not gonna say I got buddies with Johnny Eblen, but I've talked to him and hung out with him a couple times as we have a lot of mutual friends and people we train with, and he coached at a school I coached at for high school wrestling. Super cool guy, super hard worker, super great work ethic. And he now goes on to state that I believe he's 13-0. He says he's never lost a round. He's now gone on to state that he believes he is the best middleweight in the world, that he doesn't care that he's in Bellator. He doesn't care. He said he has defense. He manhandled 50-40 forward on some judges. Gegard Mousasi, who's one of the best middleweights in the world. And people were saying that he was better than Izzy at the time. I just want to know, Zach, where do you think if Johnny Eblen was in the UFC, where also what's next for Eblen? He's waiting to hear from the winner of I'm gonna mess up the first name, but I think it's Fabricio Edwards or Fabian Edwards, who's Leon's brother, and Gegard Mousasi. I think they're fighting in France, and he's fighting the winner of them. Anyway, Zach, what I want to ask you, where do you think Bellator middleweight world champion Johnny Eblen stands if you threw him in the UFC rankings, looking at the current rankings?
I think he would be worthy of a number 3 ranking. I'm not in any way, shape, or form going to put him above guys like Robert Whittaker or Israel Adesanya. I kind of avoid the name Alex Pereira because, it's really questionable with like his takedowns and, stylistically, it's not going to match up well.
It's a horrible matchup for him stylistically.
Terrible. Yeah. That is like a human walking nightmare.
Yeah.
But, boxer's chance, as they say, you never know, like a punch could land here or there. So I'm not going to put him up against the UFC's champion. But that number 3 guy sitting right now is Jared Cannonier, and like no disrespect to Jared, he's very good in his own right, but I just think like Eblen's done a lot to prove himself in Bellator. Obviously, what pisses me off is when people are like, oh, Bellator is like the minor league of UFC. Like that's not true. There's a lot of guys in other organizations that would fare very well in the UFC. For those of you that don't know, Demetrius Johnson, who we traded for fucking Ben Askren.
Yeah.
Talk about worst ever. If DJ was still in the UFC, we wouldn't even have a division because we would just be like, all right, let him run it for like 30
more years. He was so good that it actually hurt him.
You want to talk about robberies? They robbed him of his belt just so that they could like send him off because they couldn't trade him away while he was still a champion. They had to find a way for them to like take his belt away from him, which I thought was a pure robbery. He didn't fight his best fight, but still whatever. And so sorry, I got a little sidetracked, but regardless, I do think Eblen is very good in his own right. I will say though, there are guys 5 through 10 that would give him a run for his fucking money.
I was just saying that too. Yeah,
I'm looking at Derek. I'm looking at Derek Brunson. I'm looking at guys like Paulo Costa. Maybe Duplessis right now. Guys that are up and coming. Like those guys would not be easy to go through. But honestly, like anyone 1 through 10 is not an easy fight. It's just kind of that 1 through 3 separates.
Yeah. I would. First things first, before I say I'd put him, he has trained a lot with Sean Strickland at Extreme Couture. So only they know, and probably maybe 4 to 5 other people know how those live goes go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that if we had that intel, which we don't, which sucks, but if we did, that'd be really interesting to see how he handles with Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's a good gatekeeper kind of guy. Do you belong above him or do you belong below him? I think you're right, though. I think you could put him at the 4 to 5 spot, but I think if you brought him over, him through 4 to 6 between Vettori, Brunson, or Costa, those are all great matchups for him, I think. I would love
to see him. No, I was going to see him in Vettori because I think him and
Vettori
are like, I think they are dead equal, like in terms of like how they match up. And if he beats Vettori, because honestly, Vettori's really good, and now that he's gone to Thailand to kind of learn more of his Muay Thai to work on his stand-up, I think he's even going to be better because, what his whole thing is, he relied too much on wrestling, and Izzy kind of showed him, like, dude, you can be as good a wrestler as you want. Like, if I just stuff you, I'll just spank you around for 5 rounds.
I think Eblen's wrestling's better. I think he's a better wrestler than – I'm not saying he's a better MMA fighter. I think he's a better wrestler than Vettori.
Yeah, that's true.
But Vettori's bigger than him.
That is also true.
I think that's where we put him. I think I put him at 5. I think I put him at 5, and I think you give him Vettori, and that'd be a really good. Give him a 5-round fight with Vettori. I think that'd be a really good. Let's see where you're at.
Oh, that's so fucking disrespectful to Derek Brunson.
Yeah, but I think he beats Derek Brunson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude.
Derek Brunson has one more fight left in his career. Johnny Eblen is entering his prime.
Yeah,
He's
that's true.
starting to get hot.
So
Derek
true.
Brunson's on the decline.
Then I would say that
And
is
they're
the
both
most
South Florida guys too. I mean, Brunson trains out of Kill Cliff, and fucking Eblen's ATT.
maybe that's the fight to make because based off the track record of how we've just been brutally murdering our retirees and our legends.
Yeah, just throw him.
Like, yo, Derek Brunson, you get Bellator champion fucking Johnny Eblen. He's gonna
for your
whoop
last
your
ever
fucking
fight.
ass. God damn, that would
Yeah,
be
Dana is weird with that, bro. I mean, honestly, Bellator is too. They gave Fedor Ryan Bader. Like, I don't know what's up with them in
God.
their retirement fights as well, but
Yeah.
Fedor should have never been fighting anymore, anyways.
I will say though, they did a very nice like celebration of Fedor's career. Like they treated him right on his way out. They just kind of showed him like, here's why he's retiring. Because you don't want him to win and be like, nah, man, you got one more in you. It was like, nah, you're fucking done, man. Like, put down the gloves. Like, it's
Yeah, but I
time.
mean, dude, he's an all-time. Not only is he an all-time legend, he's a pioneer. He's like
Pioneer.
the first
No.
ever. He's the first ever like real heavyweight world champion MMA.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to talk about the grandfathers of the UFC? Like that is Fedor right there.
Dude, he was. I mean, until he came to America, he was never lost a fight. He was like 20-0 or 25-0 when he was fighting in Russia and Japan, and then he came to Strikeforce and got baptized by Fabricio Verdum. But yeah, I mean, he's still an all-time legend. He should, like I said, should not have been fighting still. But anyways, it was cool to see all the other pioneers like Chuck Liddell, Chael Sonnen. You had Rampage in there. You had Renzo Gracie was in there. You had Josh Barnett was in there. Mark Coleman was in there. Dan Henderson was in there. Matt Hughes was in there. There was a couple other guys I can't get off the top of my head, but like it was a really heartfelt moment, especially for someone like me who's been watching since those guys were my age, So it was really cool to see like it all come full circle. And Fedor, pat Chuck Liddell in the tummy and was like, "Yeah, you're getting fat." That was funny. But we're talking about possible fights to make for Johnny Eblen in the middleweight division. It's already a possible fight out there being talked about, Zach Watts, between the bad guy and the good guy, Mr. Khamzhat Chimaev and Robert Whittaker for a possible title eliminator fight. What are your thoughts on this matchup that's been going around my social media feed? I mean, even Khamzhat poked at it too. So,
I got to give respect where I guess credit is due to Khamzhat because like, he's not shying away from anyone. He views himself as a champion in his own right, and he thinks he can contend with the best of them. So he's going to go knocking towards that higher rank. But you come knocking at the line, you best be ready because Robert Whittaker is no fucking joke. And for those of you that just want to point fingers and say like, oh, well, Rob's been beat by Izzy twice. Like he's really not like a champion in his own right. Like watch how he's handled his last 2 or 3 fights. That is not the same Robert Whittaker. He has improved immensely in every regard of his fight game. Just the way he handled Marvin. He literally made Marvin fly overseas to like rethink his entire training regimen.
Yeah.
He bitched him. He fucking bitched him. Like you want to talk about the ultimate gatekeeper? That's like champ number 2 to get to champ number 1. Like you're fucked. And people are talking about right now that if Rob fought Pereira, that he would dog walk him. Like other than Pereira getting a fighter's chance, like Rob would just take him down and have his way.
Yeah, and the thing about that Vettori fight too is I feel like if you don't know MMA and you're not a huge MMA guy, you're gonna think that fight's a little boring. But the thing that I liked about it, Zach, that you talked about, is it showed how technical Robert Whittaker was. Because people always talk about how he's a great brawler, and he is. He's probably one of the best brawlers middleweight has ever seen. But what he did in that Vettori fight, how after the first round, he did not get hit with a single jab. Yeah, and he didn't even move his head. He just knew the pocket range. There's so many punches. There's a highlight compilation on there somewhere on Twitter I saw where it's just punches coming right here. And Rob doesn't even flinch because he's already figured out the range.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see how technical he is. And even in the second Izzy fight, he doesn't get dropped in the beginning of the fight. I think it's a draw.
Yeah.
I don't think Izzy beat him.
Yeah, it goes to show you how good Izzy is, but like Rob was so because like it's not to discredit Marvin Vettori stand up. Like Marvin's good on the feet, but Rob made him look like he was like just showing up to his first like Muay Thai practice. Like any kick Marvin tried to throw, Rob checked immediately, stepped just out of range. Every punch he was throwing was just outside of his reach, which then Rob would immediately either parry it away, stick him with a cross. Like it didn't matter. It really didn't matter. Like as I was watching it, I was like, this isn't boring because like it's a great fight, but I was like, it's getting boring because there's no competition. Like this is like watching your coach whoop a student. Like you knew it was going to happen. It's just not enjoyable to watch. Like you start to feel bad for the guy in a sense, but this is what you sign up for. Rob's where he's at for a reason. Anyone that thinks he would get beat easily by Khamzat or thinks that he would get ran through, you're sadly mistaken. I promise you, Rob is going to be Khamzat's toughest test by far.
I think Rob beats Khamzat.
I mean, I still think he does, but I'm just saying for those out there that think Khamzat's like this, like next and upcoming champ. I'm sorry.
My look going into it is you watch Khamzat versus Burns. That's his only real fight. Let's be honest. And I scored it a draw. It's not a robbery that he won at all. I don't think Burns won. I just don't think Burns lost. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But he dies of cardio in the third. Gasses. He couldn't like they both were exhausted. Rob Whittaker does not gas out. Rob Whittaker can fight for 25 rounds. He does not gas out. So I think that one with that pace and everything is going to kill Khamzat. Also, let's not forget that a Olympic silver medalist in Yoel Romero couldn't even take Rob Whittaker down. So Khamzat's not taking him down, and his striking's nowhere near Rob's. I think what we see in the Khamzat Rob fight is round one, Khamzat might overwhelm him a little with pressure, might not whoop his ass, but kind of control the fight. And then it's going to be Rob. All right, science, figure it all out. 2 and 3, dogs him. I don't think he finishes him, but I just think it's going to be one of those things where Khamzat in the third round, it's going to be like how I was at sparring last night. You get hit so every time you throw a punch, and you get hit every time they throw a punch, that you're like so hesitant to strike. You're just like standing there. And Rob's just going to do his freaking Rob, like shoulder shrug, jab cross. Like he's going to just piece him up.
The way I like how you said Khamzat's going to control. I don't really see it as control. I just feel like Rob's going to be more accepting of going down 0-1. It's really hard for like newer fighters to accept the fact that they lost a round opening the fight because it really is hard to overcome that. But Rob is understanding of the fact that I can let this guy use his gas tank because I'm better than him stamina wise. I'm going to let him use all the energy he can. I'm going to survive. And once I survive this round, you're fucked. Like, you are going to be my bitch.
I wouldn't even say Rob's going to go in there to lose the round. He's going to go in there to win the round. But Khamzat's going to go in there to try to rip his head off.
Yeah.
And Rob's going to stick to the game plan. That's where I think it's going to be different.
Perfect definition of it. Yeah. Because Rob's not going to change his entire game plan just because shit didn't go his way, like right out of the gate. Like he knows, like, we have a game plan for a reason. We're going to last it out. And I think every fight he's had up to this point has worked well for him. Is he just gets caught in moments. Like it's just like a moment here.
The only fight he got caught in was fucking the world champion Israel.
Yeah.
So like everyone else he manhandles.
Yeah. So it'll be a great fucking fight. I can't wait if they do make it happen. If they sign,
no, it would be a banger. I'm not saying it would be an ass whooping. It'd be a banger.
Yeah.
Because even if Rob's teeing off on Khamzat's not gonna give a fuck. He's gonna keep coming at him. He's not gonna shy away. So it's just gonna be a brawl. Real quick before we move on to our last topic, Khamzat could not handle the power of Gilbert Burns. You think he'd be able to eat a Rob Whittaker punch? Because I think Rob definitely hits harder than Gilbert Burns. And not in a disrespect way to Gilbert Burns, in a size comparison that Rob's just bigger.
Yeah, the way I see it is, I think Khamzat had never been in a fight before where like he was like on equal terms with anyone up until that point. And I think because Gilbert was smaller than him, I think he just disrespected him out the gate. And Gilbert like bopped his ass, and then Khamzat was like, okay, I'm gonna have to give you some respect, because you saw after he got fucking rocked by Gilbert, he suddenly like started shooting a lot more and was like picking up the pace and shit. Like he immediately switched from like I'm gonna have fun in this fight to I'm gonna fight to kill you. Like this is no longer a game for either of us. And they went to war. Like they both ended the gas tanks. It was a great fight. I think with Rob though, if he makes that same mistake, there is no, oh, now I know you're fucking dead. It's Rob's.
Yeah, I don't think he can't eat one like he ate from Burns and keep fighting. I think it might fuck him.
And people, okay, and I'm gonna say this now because I know people are gonna call us out for it, and say like, "Oh, you know what? Rob doesn't have knockout power, and like Rob doesn't knock anyone out." It's not that Rob doesn't. It's just that Rob doesn't fucking need to like overthrow anything. Like he doesn't throw crazy overhands. He just sticks with his nice and simple textbook jabs, easy crosses and overhands. Like it's nothing crazy. It's not putting his all into it. He's just doing just enough to rock you, and he's smart.
Sound. It's
It's
technically sound as fuck.
always, and like from a visual standpoint, like yeah, like you might see a guy get hit by and be like, oh well, he didn't knock him out, he doesn't have power. No, they might not get knocked out. If Rob hit your fucking bitch ass, he would kill you. But I was like, these guys.
The thing is too, Zach, is he has knockouts, but his last like 5 or 6 fights are all the 1 and 2 contenders in the world.
Literally.
So yeah, he's obviously not sleeping all of them, but like look at any of their faces after or any of their interviews. They're like, yeah, Bobby Knuckles hits hard as fuck.
Bobby
Knuckles. They all admit it. Like, yeah, he doesn't have that one punch knockout power he used to when he was a little bit younger, when he was at welterweight. But dude, he's still dude, they get rocked.
Yeah.
But he dropped Derek Ear. He dropped fucking Jared Cannonier.
Yeah.
Izzy couldn't drop him.
Yeah, he fucking bitched him, fucking rocked his ass.
That's what I'm saying. Crazy. So I think it'd be a good fight, but I'm obviously Team Rob all day. Our last talking point before we dive in to the card that everyone is anticipating. The Ultimate Fighter has been announced, and we're finally getting an actual return of Conor McGregor. Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor in the Ultimate Fighter. 2 interesting things to state on this. First, they are doing a vets versus newcomer, which I think is fucking sick. They're getting 12 former UFC fighters that have been cut, bringing them on, and then 12 prospects and bringing them on, and they're merging it together. Super sick idea, in my opinion. I actually have 3 things. Second thing, Conor McGregor is still not allowed to fight for at least 6 months because he's not back in the USADA testing pool. So they're going to draw this on as long as fucking possible and just get as much Conor McGregor media. They might not fight for 2 fucking years. They might just media the shit out of it before the fight. Third thing, was talking to my teammate, Tyler Dehaven. He has a professional fight coming up, I want to say in the end of March in Iowa. Check him out. We were talking about it, like, would you ever go on the Ultimate Fighter? And we both were like, fuck no, dude. That shit would okay, obviously if I got the opportunity, I'd take it. But like I would rather do the Contender Series. But you know how ass that shit is, Zach? You are in a house for 3 to 5 months with there's no internet for the outside world, there's no cell phones, like, and you're just all you do is wake up, go to practice, come home, wake up, go to practice, go home, train. And you're just with 20 dudes. Oh, and by the way, you're fighting these dudes to see if your UFC dream comes true. And you're also sleeping 5 feet away from them every night and cooking in the kitchen with them and hanging out with them.
Yeah.
You know, like that shit was, and that's the reason why a lot of the guys on Ultimate Fighter become like alcoholics. Because they're so bored, they just get fucking shit faced.
Oh God. Yeah, I definitely couldn't, because like if you even share like one good memory with the guy, you're gonna have to look at him and be like, yeah, at some point, like push comes to shove, I gotta kill you.
Yeah,
like,
if I need to feed my family and have my life's work and dream come true, I have to be the guy I just had breakfast with up. Like,
yeah, no, I'm sorry. That's why some of the guys on the show, like, they get so hated on personality wise, but I'm like, dude, if they don't act like that, it makes it so much harder to fight the guy you're next to. Like, you might as well just like try to not be friends with them, like try to just be in your own little world. Like, they're giving up 5 months of their lives. Like, they might as well just dedicate everything they have into getting better. Like, they're not there to fucking socialize. Like, obviously it makes it for better content and show, but they're not there for your appeal. They're there to be a fucking world champion one day. Like,
dude, and the thing is too, is like, even though it's teams, that doesn't mean shit. If your team sweeps, you're fighting your teammates.
Yeah.
It's one man. It's not, there's not, oh, all the team Chandler guys get to go. No. If Team Chandler sweeps Team McGregor or vice versa, you start fighting your teammates then, because only one guy can leave.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I'm going to pull this up real quick just because I would like to know, and I'd like to get a little rankings put together, or our little Mount Rushmore of our favorite Ultimate Fighter coaches. Because in my head, I have my top 3. I just don't know who I'd put in for 4. So yeah, I'm going to look up.
So my number 1 of all time is going to be Rampage Jackson.
Oh, it's so good.
It's going to be Rampage Jackson.
His breaking down the door is by far one of the best like television moments of all time.
Bro, that season of I am not a big Ultimate Fighter fan. I think it kind of sucks. The fighters aren't that good. Like, obviously they're going to make the fighters for this one really good. But like I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think it's like super like awesome or anything. I don't I don't really follow it, but I followed and watched. That was probably the first one I fully followed and watched outside the GSP cost check. Was because that rivalry between Rampage and Rashad was so fucking good, as well as Kimbo Slice was on it. So like everyone was hopping on and watching it. And dude, that it was just so funny to see Quentin like Rampage and like he like his first pick, he's like Kimbo, and he starts freaking out when Kimbo Slice is there, and then he breaks the door down. Like I just think I think Rampage is one of the best Ultimate Fighter coaches, at least from what I've watched of the Ultimate Fighters I've watched.
Yeah. Number one for me, quite easily, is Chael Sonnen.
Yeah, Chael
Just
Sonnen up there. That was my number two. Yeah.
yeah, I think just the beef between him and Wanderlei leading up to that, and we had the most iconic moment of all time of I can't let you get close. Like that.
What now? What now?
What now? Just in his fucking face. And Chael is standing in a tank top and jeans and flip flops.
Yeah.
And he's just like, but what are you doing? But like, why? And then he immediately slaps the hand away, shoots a takedown, and they just start beating the shit out of each other.
Wanderlei's doing all this like in his face, like freaking out, and Chael's just like, dude, come on, man, like, bro, like, stop, dude, we're not doing this.
Yeah,
he's like, I can't let you get close, and he takes him down textbook last double.
Oh fuck!
My number three, obviously biased, but I'm gonna explain it as well as George St. Pierre. What for those of you that don't know, what Georges did for the Ultimate Fighter, I think is to this day like one of the greatest and like coolest things ever. He did not coach his fighters. He brought his coaches in and he said, look, I am not a coach. He goes, I am a fighter. So what makes me a great fighter are these coaches. And he had John Danaher. He had a striking coach. He had Furios Zahabi. He had some Muay Thai guy come in. He had all of his coaches. He goes, they're going to run it. I am just going to practice and train with you one-on-one and help you get better. And his coaches ran his team. And if you think about it, that's kind of fucking awesome, you know?
Yeah. One of my favorite moments from that season is when GSP brings in his coach and he tells all his guys like, "Yo, I got a coach coming in. Please be super respectful."
The French Muay Thai guy, right?
The French, and he tells everyone, he goes, "Look, I know visually this guy doesn't look like anything, but he's like, he will fucking kill you." And he literally goes on Joe Rogan after he told him, he's like, "Yeah, my coach would be shit faced drunk every day. Like he came off the plane shit faced, showed up to practice, immediately changed, was like just bloated as fuck, and just beat the shit out of every single one of his fighters." And he was just like, he's like, "I'm sorry." He's like, "The only reason I told them to be respectful is because if they pissed him off, he would have just killed them and just left and not cared."
Like, he comes in so nonchalantly, just like in a dad bod, and like just wearing Muay Thai shorts, no shoes, no shirt, no glasses, nothing. Walks in, he's like burping the whole time, just beating the shit out of everyone.
Yeah. My next one, I didn't personally watch this season, but I've seen a lot about it, and I think just to build up to the fight between Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's that was OG. That's the first season.
Yeah, that to me, I just like that is like peak Chuck Liddell right there, because you look at him and like the way he teaches. Like, first of all, if you've ever seen Chuck Liddell fight, he is the most like bar fighting looking dude of all time. It's just perfect example. So whenever he's like training guys, like I couldn't even fathom like, Chuck, what the fuck are you telling these people? Like there's no way you're actually training them. So that to me, he's got to be up there just for that. I gotta go back and watch the season
with Forrest Griffin and
yeah, it was
Stephen Bonner. That's the OG season. Rest in peace, Stephen Bonner. By the way, that's crazy that fucking happened,
dude. Hold on. By the way, there were so many people in that season that ended up becoming great. Mike Swick, Josh Koscheck, Chris Levin, Diego Sanchez, Chris Florian, Forrest Griffin, Stephen Bonner. By the way, was it the Forrest Griffin Stephen Bonner fight that ended up like probably saved the UFC?
No, that was the first. Yeah, that's what brought them to life. Yeah,
that's what probably saved not only the Ultimate Fighter but the UFC, because they were still fighting out of like really shitty venues and whatnot.
I'm pretty sure they spiked from somewhere between like 150K to 1 million views within 20 minutes because of that fight. I'm pretty sure it was some insane jump like that.
Yeah.
My number 4 though, and I know it's weird, but I'm gonna go with Alexander Volkanovski. Ooh. I think when he did it with Ortega, he was really fun. He's a good guy. I just hate him because I love Max, but he was really fun. Excuse me. He was really fun. Pranked Ortega a bunch. He had like that broken hand still kind of going on during it. And
Yeah.
which was cool too is he brought in Craig Jones to come grapple with his guys, and he brought in Cowboy. Like I don't know, I just feel like he was a really wholesome, fun, like actual good coach on the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah. I like that. Now, my next one I'm torn between because on one end, just for the shit talking aspect, I want to take McGregor just because he made the season so funny. But I think what actually made for great television was when BJ Penn did it. And to start the season off, BJ Penn got in there with, I think it was, yeah, Jens Pulver, who was like really good at the time.
First ever lightweight world champion.
Yeah. BJ Penn walks into the room, and before they even draft players, he just goes, "Yo, raise your hand if you want to be on my team." And only half the guys, he goes, "All right, let's go." They didn't even pick teams. They just immediately split them like that. And then BJ Penn immediately just starts talking shit about the other guys. He goes, "You want to be on my team? I'm gonna fucking kill you myself." He goes, "I'm just gonna beat the shit out of you." But dude, fuck, there were so many good ones on that too. Because you had Joe Lawson, Rob Emerson, Gray Maynard, Cole Miller, and
Damn.
the season finale was between Manny Gamburian and Nate Diaz.
Damn,
So
that's good.
yeah, and that was a fucking good ass
Yeah.
fucking matchup. So that was fucking good. But when you have Connor just on television in general, the best moment of all time is when he fucking sprints and goes, "Stay on your fucking feet, stay on your," and he's like throwing shit in the ring, and they're like, "Connor, yo, like relax." Like,
Or when he's talking shit to Uriah, or like TJ Dillashaw comes in, he's like, "Oh, there's the snake in the grass." Yeah, those are good. I do miss old school BJ Penn. Also, shout out Jens Pulver, first ever UFC lightweight world champion, and I met him the same day I met Anthony Johnson, or yeah, when they fought at in Tampa. I actually have a picture of me and Jens Pulver. I'm like 9 or 10. I think I'm 10, and we're doing a face off at Fighter Warehouse in International Mall in Tampa.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, he was a super cool guy. I met him and Sean Strickland, or excuse me, Sean Shirk. Two really cool, really wholesome, badass gentlemen. But Zach, let's get into the reason why everyone is tapping in to this podcast today. UFC 284. Could you say this is one of the unluckiest fight cards ever? I mean, let's go through it. First of all, there's no promotion, and we already made a TikTok on this. Everyone and their mothers talked about it. Islam Makhachev already came out and stated too that Dana's not doing shit for it. Dana doesn't remember the name of Islam, can't even say his name in multiple interviews, as well as 7 fights were either canceled or removed from this card. One of them being Rob Whittaker versus Paulo Costa because they couldn't come to an agreement on Paulo Costa's contract, as well as Kai Kara-France was supposed to fight somebody good. I cannot remember who. He got pulled off because of an injury. I want to say it was a rib injury.
I have all the canceled fights bookmarked if you want me to go through them real quick.
If you want to read them off real quick.
Yeah, so the first one was that ended up fizzled out just because the paper on pen was the Whittaker Costa. We had a canceled bout between Tyson Pedro and Mingyang Zhang. Zhang withdrew. Another canceled fight at 125, Kai Kara-France versus Alex Perez. Kai Kara-France got
Alex
injured.
Perez, that's what it was.
Our next one, canceled bout at 155, Nasrat Hakparast versus Jamie Malarkey. Hakparast got injured. Another 155 cancellation, Joel Alvarez versus Zubari Tukugov. Alvarez withdrew. Then really big fuck up, cancellation at 265, Junior Tafa versus Austin Lane. Lane withdrew. And then when they found Tafa's replacement, Tafa withdrew because Tafa got injured against Waldo Cortez Acosta. So like literally nothing's been going right for these fighters on this card. And if you want to talk about just being unlucky, dude, there's only 2 prelim fights on this card. Only 2. They don't even like couldn't even find replacements because they were like, we already filled out the rest of our fucking fight cards for the month. We can't just like throw guys in on 2 days notice.
2 fucking prelims. That's crazy.
Yeah, and like I know it's a fuck situation because like at the same time, and if this was like a lesser card, I feel like you have to just like move the bout back or like cancel it so you can fill a card out. But you can't just tell the number 1 and number 2 pound for pound fighters in the world like, oh yeah, we got you through this big ass training camp. Yeah, fuck it. And we're just gonna move it back. Like too much money's gone into like hyping the fight up, even though like they have said they fumbled the bag. I will say this: Islam did call out Dana White saying he felt the promotion wasn't where it needed to be for this fight. But then Islam came out today in a press conference and he was like, he goes, Dana did reach out back to me. He sent me everything based off numbers wise, what they did for promotion and all this stuff and what they're trying to doing. So Islam felt he fully understood where Dana was coming from and they came to a mutual agreement. So he didn't feel upset anymore about it. So I will say they at least fix things up on that part. I will
But I
not forget.
disagree. I disagree though, dude. There's no promotion at all. Like when we posted that TikTok, so many people were hitting
Oh
me
yeah,
up and they were like, "I didn't even know this fight was happening," or like this, and that. Like this isn't a normal card, dude. This is the number one and number two pound for pound fighters in the world. Like these is the highest level fight. This is the highest level caliber fight that a sport can have. This is bigger than the Super Bowl, technically.
yeah,
Like this is the highest level of the sport. Is the number one and number two guy. It's also in Australia, which is like Volkanovski's like land. That's where he's New Zealand Australian guy, which is huge, and that's not being promoted at all. I mean, there's no promotion at all, and on top of that, Zach, it's they're only promoting the slapping shit, which I'm fucking tired. I don't even want to talk about it. And outside of the co-main and main event, dude, this card sucks. This card sucks. And I understand all the people pulling out and backing out, dude, but like you want as many eyes as possible to watch this fight. When it comes to a fight of this caliber, when it comes to Makhachev versus Volkanovski, this is a fight you use to get people to become MMA fans. This is how you draw in casual sports fans, is to show them the highest level of the sport. You can't do that if you're not promoting the card or putting good fights on the card. People aren't going to watch it then. You want this card to blow up so people can watch. It's going to be a banger, both the main and co-main event. That's going to make people want to watch the sport, you know?
yeah. Someone said this recently on social media, and I felt it really stuck home with me, and I couldn't agree more. I feel like Dana's gotten to the point where he feels like the brand of UFC itself will sell enough. Like they don't need to do any excess shit in order to bring additional viewers. But I feel like that's a dying model. That's a mindset of complacency. And if you want to run that way, your product will die. Because, if this were a world where you had no other competitors in your realm of combat sports, I would agree. Like, hey, you're good enough. No one else is going to come sweep the rug up from under you. You're probably riding out for now. You'll be fine. But, you know, Bellator just did their first deal with CBS. They finally broke television, I think, what was it, like 2 million views, something like
Yeah,
that?
they
Like,
had a really good showing. They had
yeah,
more viewers on that than the Lewis card.
yeah. Well, and given that you had your fucking Lewis card at 3 in the goddamn morning,
Yeah.
which was a joke to me. I felt like that was disrespectful to Derek Lewis, even though he died. But even to the other fighters, it was kind of disrespectful. Regardless, though, you're competing with brands such as Ryzen, One FC, Bellator. Like these are all other
PFL
companies.
now.
Yeah, PFL now globally that are doing whatever they can to make strides in order to compete with you, in order to steal the best fighters in the world of combat so that they can make the best product. And, we talked about this earlier, and I think we're going to make a talk about this, but, just look at the graphic design for posters that the different companies are putting out. UFC is fucking dog
They're
shit
the worst,
and
bro. Their promotional posters suck.
suck ass. Like I was looking the other day through some Ryzen and One FC like posters, dude. They're fucking sick.
They're
Like
so
they
badass.
like they put so much time and
It's
effort in
like
that shit.
traditional martial arts vibes.
Yeah, like when they had that fucking poster they made for the Rise, what is it? What was it? The Rise and One FC crossover fight.
Rise and Bellator crossover, yeah.
Yeah, Rise and Bellator, and they made like Rise and like the Samurais, and they made fucking
Bellator like the Trojan
Bellator like
Warriors.
the Trojan.
Yeah.
Like, bro, that shit was fucking sick. Like that's what gets people like hype. Like when you see graphics like that, like you may not think like, oh well, that doesn't really do anything for the fight itself. Like bull fucking shit, dude. Like that's how you get kids. Like the reason why kids are so obsessed with WWE is because they make shit like that. Like they do shit to garner to like the younger audiences, and then you grow up watching it. Guess what? You grow up watching it. Your kids are gonna watch it, and then you create like a legacy, a brand. Like that's how it works. And I just feel like they do the bare fucking minimum in the UFC. They only care about how to bring in the most money with spending the least amount of money, and
Yeah,
it fucking
it's
sucks.
fucking stupid, bro. And like I said, your job is to market your fighters. That is your job. One reason why it's so awesome to make it to the UFC is you're like, all right, I can build my own brand now and not have to build my fight cards or build, you know what I'm saying? Like when I fight, I have to tell people, oh, look at my fight card, look how good the fight card is. Like, I'm promoting every aspect of it so I can make money through ticket sales, I can make money through revenue through endorsements, stuff like that. But they don't need to do that. And like I even talked about on TikTok, Conor McGregor did not do media for the third Dustin Poirier fight, and they had 1.8 million pay-per-view buys. He did not do media.
Imagine if he did. Imagine if he did.
And yeah,
Like just
obviously Conor McGregor is a bigger deal than this card, but still, dude, like
yeah.
they could have stacked the card. They could have, I mean, I don't know. I don't really understand it. I don't know if it's unlucky. I don't know if Dana was a little too hard on trying to get the Aussies on it. But like, even if the card's in Australia, you need Americans your number one source of pay-per-view buys. You need that more than anything.
Yeah, and another thing that kind of bothers me that I called this on the pod. Like Dana's doing his like press conferences for like the card, and dude, he's like forgetting your number 2 pound for pound fighter's name,
Yeah,
dog.
he's looking at the screen behind him.
Yeah, to like remember the name. Like, dude, what? Like, what are you doing, dog? Like, not like he's a fucking champion. What it's like, I would understand if like you barely had any stake in the business. Like, dude, you're a part of every fucking event that goes on within the UFC. Like,
You're
you're
the
a
face.
part of
You were the face. You're
the
Roger
thing. Like,
Goodell.
yeah, it's not like you're only there sometimes and you don't really care what's going on. You are there for every single thing. You set up every event. You make sure everything runs smoothly. And suddenly you invent the slap league and you're treating the slap league as if it's like your favorite child.
Yeah, but there's more posts and promotion on that these past 2 weeks than there has been for this fight.
That's another
On the
thing.
UFC account.
That is what pisses me off the most, and I cannot stand this. Why not create your own social media platform for your slap league?
Dude, they have it.
Why,
They have one too. That's what's crazy is they do.
yeah, but couldn't tell me what you could have done. What you could have done to make it better is you could have at least had the UFC account just retweet the post from your slap league social media to be like, hey, if you want to see this, go follow the page, whatever. No, you're just straight up posting it through the UFC to make it seem like it's a UFC event. And
You know what I was thinking about too, Zach? I had this thought. I don't know why I didn't talk to you about this. If why aren't they using? They're using. This is what they're doing, and this is what they should be doing. They're using the UFC to promote the slap fighting. Why aren't they using the slap fighting to promote the UFC? Like, why in this past week of fights
it should be shared.
No, but listen, why hasn't the past week of fights has every guy that's fighting the slap league's uniform had UFC 284 with the date and the names on it on the back of it, or in the platform in the middle, UFC 284. You could be using these guys as free marketing for the UFC, but instead you're flipping it. Instead of using the UFC to market, just they're not athletes. There's guys that can eat a slap. Like that's what you're marketing. You're not marketing these guys that are working their whole fucking lives and dedicating everything they have in a sport where there's not, NIL deals and there's not, you make it to the NFL, you get a minimum. No, there's teammates that I have that are poor as fuck chasing their dreams. And instead of promoting those guys and helping those guys out and adding a couple more UFC roster slots and throwing a couple extra bones, you're promoting 2 fat dudes that slap the fuck out of each other.
Yeah.
And what image are you promoting to children? What image are you promoting to martial artists? Like, it's just stupid, bro. It's fucking dumb.
Yeah, and what kills me is like, there's not even a competitive aspect to the slap league. It's not
at all.
You're not. This is what I don't get. You're not competing for a belt. There's no like champion of the slap. Like there's nothing you're competing. Really not in weight classes. They just take the 2 biggest people they can find that talk a little shit and smack each other. There's no press conferences for it, so there's really no build up. It's just to say like, hey, you want to watch guys smack each other? Go for it. What's crazy to me is you bring up why don't they promote one another? Like why doesn't the slap league promote UFC? Dude, I'm pretty sure when they run out those venues, it's not just for the night of the fights. It's for a couple days before. Why not just have your slap league fight the night before and sell package tickets? Like, hey, if you buy UFC tickets or you buy slap league tickets, you get like a 50% or 75% off UFC tickets. If that way you like force fans to go to both, or like if they want to, they can attend both. Have some package deal, fanfare.
You get a whole weekend out of a fight and not just the fight.
Literally, like you have so much. You could make more. We are literally giving you like free ideas to like make better shit, which pisses me off because I want the sport to fuck. It's not even a sport. I don't know because the way I view
a sport, it's not a sport. You can't. There's no strategy. You can't get better at it. Like you're not. Those guys in the slap league aren't grinding in the gym. Like, how do I strengthen my face from getting hit? Like they're just going to their normal 9-to-5 job and maybe they slap a bag or their wife a little. Like they're not fucking. They're not going to a gym and sparring world-class caliber guys.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, man. Like, I just don't understand. Like, when I classify sports, like, there has to be some level of competition or, like, some way to, like, dictate who's better than one another. Bro, the only way you're better than someone is if you win the coin toss and decide who gets to smack the shit out of each other first.
Yeah, you could you could technically be better and just lose the flip and get knocked the fuck out.
I would respect the sport more if they let them rock, paper, scissors, and then like the winner of the rock, paper, scissors gets to smack first. Like at least that's like like a little competition. Like you get give like a day to talk shit where you're like, I'm gonna throw rock tomorrow and there's nothing you can do about it. And the guy's like 24 hours, be like, fuck, is he really gonna throw rock? Like, I don't know. Like,
Dude, it's
man, he's gonna
also
smack the shit out of me.
dude, he's in my brain. I don't know if I can do it. But another thing too, Zach, is we're living in an era where everyone's bitching at the Dolphins and bitching at the NFL for concussion protocol, and yet we're just letting
paying people for it.
Literally give each other concussions. Like, bro, you can get knocked the fuck out and wake up within 30 seconds and stand up, and you can keep going. You keep going.
Now, I don't know how the refs don't die laughing because I've just seen the highlights. The ref literally goes, all right, what hand you smacking him with? What count? All right, on three. 1, 2, 3. Smacks the shit out of him. Powder flies everywhere. And the ref just looks at this guy that's seizing up on the mat and he goes, down. Like, oh, no shit, man. Yeah. And he waits 5 seconds and he looks at the guy and he goes, nah, fuck it. He's dead. Like, we ain't doing this no more.
Another thing is, I hate quoting him, but Ariel Helwani made a good point. He's like, it's also kind of like, what the fuck on these refs too? Like you're promoting this and like you're cool with that. Like, you know, it's on everyone. It's on everyone as an entity that's supporting this.
Yeah. Like, and thankfully, some of the UFC fighters have come out and say, like, what the fuck is this shit? And just been like, why? Like, you're just either A, they're upset that money's getting taken away from them, or B, that they're upset because, like, this isn't, like, helping anyone. Like, because, like, at the end of the day, even if you were to go from the aspect of, you know, this is helping putting food on the table, dude, they're getting paid $4,000.
If they win.
2 to show and 2 to win. Dude, how many fights of those realistically can you do in a year before you are dead. Mentally dead? Yeah, like before you can't speak. How many? I want to know. Because I guarantee you if we hooked up like some brain sensors to those guys before they went into the smack league, half of them would be like, yeah, it's like they're getting hit by a fucking sledgehammer every 30 minutes or a baseball bat.
I don't like I said, I've never looked into any of this, but I know when you fight in the UFC, you have a doctor's date until you can fight again. Like they do an immediate evaluation. Do you think these guys get evaluated or they can just go fucking slap each other again next week?
There's no way if they're doing this, they can even afford doctor bills. So they're definitely just getting.
No, it's all covered. It's covered though. It's covered. Like in the second you're done fighting and you go to the back, you have a doctor evaluate you right then and there, and then they tell you, all right, this is how long until you can fight again based on my evaluation.
See, to me, I think smacking is a lot worse than a punch.
I think it's worse too. I think it's way worse.
Because
you're also not ready for when a punch comes, you're in it, like your head's down, you're ready for it, like you see it coming, like you can shed it. You're just all right, here we go, and you're letting them smack the fuck out of you. And the open hand with the fucking this, those are knuckles still, too, bro. Yeah. Like, Google old school Bass Rutten. He used to knock motherfuckers out with his palms.
Yeah, and the whole point of like them slapping when they train is they're hitting a perfect point on your jaw to rattle your brain. Like they're trying to jostle your brain hard enough to where you lose consciousness. That is a textbook concussion every time.
Yeah.
And unless
the definition of a concussion.
Yeah. And the only way you don't get knocked out their first round is if they fuck up the slap. And guess what? It's probably still going to hurt like a fucking bitch. Because you've seen the guy with the face whose the hematoma took up his entire face. And the guy's like, yeah, this is worth $4,000. What?
But like, let's fuck this. I don't want to give this any more attention. Let's dive into the real reason we're here, and that's our co-main and main event of this UFC 284 fight. Our co-main event is a featherweight interim title fight between Yair Rodriguez, Mexico's very own 15-3, coming in at a -190 favorite, as he fights America's Josh Emmitt, coming in at 18-2 with a +160. Great fight. Let's go through a little background on these two. Yair Rodriguez, I mean, he's fought everyone. I mean, he knocked out the Korean Zombie. This is what kind of blew him up, at least in my opinion. He knocked out the Korean Zombie with 1 second left in a 5-round fight that he was losing. He let him blitz in, and then he dropped and threw a reverse elbow and knocked him out. And you know who taught him that elbow? Was Cowboy Cerrone in the warm-ups when they were warming up for their two fights, because Cowboy was the co-main. He saw Cowboy throwing it, and he asked, like, "Can you show me that?" Cowboy's like, "Yeah, it's just like an oh fuck move. Like, you know, you just." This is when Cowboy fought Mike Perry in the co-main event, and then he fucking hit it. That blew him up. Yeah. He had that weird eye poke nut thing situation when Jeremy Stevens comes back, beats Jeremy Stevens' ass, goes into a 5-round war with Max Holloway. Great fucking fight. And then he beats Ortega. He like tears his fucking labrum or something, right? Like destroyed his shoulder.
Yeah, something like
Those are
that.
the last five for Yair Rodriguez. Let's do a quick little recap for the last five of Josh Emmett. He's been a beast, dude. I mean, knocking everyone out. Knocked out Michael Johnson, knocked out Bektik, beat Shane Burgos in one of the greatest fights you can watch. Honestly, fucking spectacular fight. Beats Dan Ige's ass, and then he just this past summer in June beat Calvin Kattar in a 5-round main event, split decision. I did not watch that fight. I had friends that said it went to Kattar, and I had friends that said it went to Emmitt. I do not know, but that's his last 5-0 in his last five. I believe both men have been knocked out and finished in their career. Yes, both of them have been knocked out. So, Zach, what are we thinking going to this fight? I mean, you got Yair Rodriguez, tall, lean guy, 5'11", 71-inch reach, orthodox, versus a 5'6", kind of little muscle guy with a 70-inch reach, pretty long arms, and Josh Emmett.
Yeah. Well, let's start off with Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett, he's riding that 5-fight win streak, so he's the hotter fighter right now. You went over. When was the last time Yair lost? Who was his last loss against?
Holloway in that 5-round war.
Yeah. See, I just think you can't have too many wars in your career because I just feel like it compromises your jaw to a certain extent. Like when you take that much damage, like you're just not going to be the same fighter later in your career. And that's not to say he's going to like fall off during this Josh Emmett fight. I just think Josh Emmett has a lot to bring to the table. Yair is better on stand up. I do think Josh has an advantage on the ground though.
I don't think it's gonna go to the ground. I think this fight goes two ways. I mean, first of all, I don't think cardio is an issue. They both have proven they can fight 5 rounds. I mean, they both done it multiple times.
Yeah.
They both have knockout power. The kicks of Yair, I don't know if you've seen the videos they posted from either yesterday or today of the open workouts. His kicks are fucking insane. But Josh Emmett might be the hardest hitting featherweight in the UFC.
Yeah.
I mean, he throws fucking nukes, dude. And just look at him. He's massive. How he weighs in at 145 makes absolutely no fucking idea to me. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
I think Yair pokes it out in a 5-round technical fight, avoids the big bombs, uses the distance, works to the outside, or I think Josh Emmett puts him in a fucking coffin. That's all I gotta say. I am leaning a little towards Yair because Yair doesn't. Josh Emmett's more of a straight up boxer. Yair's a martial artist on his feet, and Josh Emmett has a history of bad knees. And I could see Yair just fucking chopping that shit.
Yeah. If I were Josh Emmett, I would.
You got to close the gap off rip.
Yeah, but here's my thing. I don't think it's smart to go all out against Yair right away because Yair, like you said, super technical. He utilizes his kicks and punches extremely well. He's going to go after that knee. I feel like best case scenario, maybe start off in southpaw just to see how he's going to throw your kicks, see how he sets him up. Once you want to like unload, feel like you can get him, get back in your orthodox stance, feel like you got a rhythm of his kicks, goes to throw it, fucking launch it. Like just let it go. Because if he catches him, he's gonna put him in a coffin. We both know this.
So if I'm gonna give my analysis on how I think both guys are gonna win. Yair's got to keep it outside distance. If he does eat a punch, nothing can stick. He's got to roll everything. Everything's got to slide, and he cannot eat any overhands. Any overhands or hooks, he's dead. Okay, yeah. Stick to the outside. Utilize your whole arsenal. You have a great clinch work. You have nasty elbows. You have nasty spinning shit. You have great kicks. You're good on the outside dancing. Utilize it all. Establish the distance. Once the fight is at your distance, I think you control the pace and you beat Josh Emmett. If I'm Josh Emmett, I need to overwhelm him with volume. I need to shorten the gap the second the fucking fight starts, even if that means shooting takedowns that don't hit just to shorten the gap, just to get the reaction of it to get closer. You know what I mean? So I think Josh Emmett needs to get in his face off rip, like literally fucking instantly, and he needs to be ready to start throwing bombs. And he needs to hurt him. If it's a stick and poke fight, Emmett's gonna lose. Emmett's a heavy hitter. He's got to hurt him. I think working the body is something he does beautifully. I think that could also be a caliber to Rodriguez. But the death of Emmitt is standing in front of Rodriguez and just trying to rush in. because his knee is going to get deleted and he's going to get stuck and Wiven. He's never going to land anything. Movement is going to be key to both of these fighters, but a different style of movement, as Yair is going to be more in and out around, and Josh Emmett needs to get more inside without getting hit.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's just weird because like in the fights that I've watched with Yair's like not afraid of anyone regardless of power. Like he just doesn't give a shit. He likes to stand in the pocket, and like it's hard to visualize him sticking and moving because I just don't feel like that's who he is. But like you said, that's his best way to win. I just don't know if he knows that's his best way to win. You know what I mean?
He does, or if he's going to want to.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I feel like if you're that good, you feel like what's got you there is going to help you. But like, there's just guys that are just bad matchups for you. Josh Emmett's one of those guys where like, bro, if you try to like match up with him, like your best versus his best, his power is better than you. You're a better fighter, I think, on your feet, 100%. But his power will get the best of you. That's just how I feel.
What Max landed like 450 strikes on him. He cannot eat 450 strikes from Josh Emmett. That just won't happen.
And
I don't think Josh Emmett's better than Max, but I know if Josh Emmett lands a right hook or a fucking overhand and Max lands it, one of them are killing you, and that one's not Max Holloway.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
I do think it's a fucking banger of a fight, though. Great fucking fight.
Yeah, I'm not betting on it.
Yeah. I'm not betting on either of these fights, but great fucking fight in my opinion. Yeah.
Let's just get to what we're all here for.
Yeah. Let's get to why we're here, man. Islam Makhachev, lightweight world champion, coming in at a minus 410 favorite, 23-1 in his record, out of Dagestani, Russia. Alexander Volkanovski, training out of New Zealand, but Australia's native, former professional rugby player, coming in 25-1. His only loss, both of their losses, I believe, were knockouts. But I don't know if you saw Islam's. He got knocked out by some scrub in the beginning of his UFC career. Volkanovski jumped up the welterweight and got knocked out before he came to the UFC. Both these men on a tear. I think they're both on like 12 or 13 fight win streaks. This is Islam's first title defense. Volkanovski proved, in my opinion, he's the best featherweight fighter of all time, beating Max 2 times out of the 3. And wow, it's just the issue with this fight is both of these guys are good everywhere.
Yeah.
Like they're good at boxing, they're good kickboxers, they're good wrestlers, they have good jiu-jitsu, they're good pressure, they're good cardio, they're strong, fast. They have great movement, they have great reading, great defense. Like they're the 2 best guys in the world. Like they are the peak of the sport. So to say what's going to happen, it's so hard. It's so fucking hard. Yeah. Size is definitely going to Islam though, 100%. 5'10", natural lightweight, could even fight at welterweight, cuts a fuck ton. Volkanovski's 5'6", featherweight, not a small lightweight, but he's not big. Size is going to Islam for sure.
Yeah, that's what people need to understand. Like, I get Volk used to be like a 200-pound plus rugby player. Like, yeah, that was in his rugby days. Like, he's always been undersized in his fighting career. He always will be. That's just the kind of fighter he is. He has no problem with it.
Yeah, it's his build.
He doesn't consider it a disadvantage. There's no excuse in that regard. So it is what it is. I will say though, because of that though, I think he's already at a severe disadvantage against Islam. Dude, the Dagestanis just know the key to cutting weight. I mean, Khabib used to walk around at like 210. It would cut down to 150. So Islam's in kind of the same boat. He cuts a fuck ton of weight. He's just their grip strength is just stronger than everyone in the division.
They're gonna weigh in at 155, and then when they get in the cage, Volk's gonna be like 165, 170, and Islam's gonna be like 185.
Yeah, and that's just, especially against a grappler of his skill, like a Dagestani wrestler. Like, dude, once they get a hand on you, like it's impossible. Like there's no way you're gonna like outstrength them to break it. Like it's just a different breed. And I'm not saying I don't believe that it's gonna be the first takedown's gonna dictate the fight. I don't believe that. I think Volk's putting too much work. I think he's too good for that case. I do think it will be a great fight. I mean, this is probably the best showcase of a number 1 versus number 2 ever. So this
John Jones, Daniel Cormier is pretty good too.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I agree. Pre-fight, looking at it, post-fight, we knew who the number 1 was fairly easily.
Yeah. But we're pre-fight right now.
Yes, which is fair enough. Fair enough. But I will say when John Jones and DC were like about to fight, even in my mind, I was like, John Jones, fucking, this is the scariest man alive. Like I love DC, but I was like, this not fun for anyone. Like this is gonna. By the way, my favorite line of shit talking ever said is when John looked DC in the eye and he was like, "I'm gonna make you feel like every second, hour, day you've put into being a better fighter I'm gonna make you feel like you wasted your fucking life." He's like, "I'm like, how do you say that to another man? Like
And then
that
do
man
it.
has that man has children, like a wife, and but he's like, yeah, I'm high on cocaine. I'm gonna kill you. Like, okay, like that's fun, cool, but yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Back to this fight. I think it goes three ways. I think Islam grinds out a UD, Islam submits him, or Volk knocks him out. I don't think Volk can win decision. I also do think, and people are gonna think I'm crazy for this, I think Volk's faster than Islam. I think when
I
it
don't.
comes to
I
in
think
and
that's
out
100%.
striking, I think Volk's quicker, especially when we saw it with Max. So I've never seen someone be faster than Max, and then Volk was like a whole punch ahead of him.
Yeah.
I also don't think Islam is gonna just take Volk down and kill him at will like people think. I think eventually he will. I don't think he's gonna be able to do it when Volk's fresh. I think Volk's wrestling it needs to be appreciated.
By the way, uh, Islam coming out and saying he wants to prove it with his hands, like he wants to like show the world that like he's a better striker than everyone thinks he is.
He's not gonna do that.
I'm like, this is what I tell everyone. I'm like, he says he's gonna do that, and he's gonna think he's gonna do that. The first time Volk sticks his ass with a jab, his initial instinct is gonna be shoot a takedown,
Yeah.
double leg, like immediately. Like everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Like he's gonna be like, I'm not gonna like be losing the fight and be like, no, I gotta prove a point. Like I gotta show people I can throw hands. Like fuck that. Like no, he's gonna
No, I want
do
to
what
be a
he's best.
world champion. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna do what I'm fucking best at and just take him down. So it is what it is. That's just kind of how I see it going. I do think the first round is gonna be very, very telling. Like very
I think
telling.
the first round will be very boring.
I don't
I
think
think
so.
they're both going to be hesitant as fuck, and they might barely touch each other in the first round.
Yeah, as the great,
I think Islam's gonna wait a little, shoot a late round shot. I think it's gonna be a really boring first round.
I'll quote the great John Anik in reference to both of these fighters. That is not the cloth in which they're cut. These guys are not fucking boring. Like these guys just don't have. Neither of these guys in any fight they've been in have been like, all right, I'm gonna really take my time. Like, nah, they're like, fuck it. Like the moment they step into that ring, they're like, I'm on a mission to kill. And I think it's just like, it's not only a great style matchup for both these guys, the mental, like the way they approach the sport itself is just like exactly what it needs to be. Like this, the fact
Dude,
that
it's the fucking peak of the game.
yeah, like
it's
this
textbook.
is combat. This is
Yeah.
combat. Like when you fucking think of like war, like just fucking life on the line, these two guys should be mentioned. Like that's just how it is. Like we can't say enough about it. We already know how good these guys are. By the way, we'll end on this little story because I didn't even know about this until I read it not so long ago, and I'm surprised more people didn't bitch about it. The second fight between Volk and Max that everyone thought Max won. Well, I thought Max won personally, but I did not know that they woke Max or they woke Volk up at like 2 or 3 in the morning for a drug test the night before his fight, and he had taken a melatonin and fucked him up, and he said it was the slowest and worst he's ever felt going into a fight. He said he felt like a whole punch behind Max. He felt like he couldn't fucking keep up with him. He said it was the worst he ever fought. That to me sounds like they're trying to set that man up for failure to lose to Max to set up the trilogy.
Well, Dana made a huge deal after that too, and they were like, we're not doing this shit no more. And it happened to another fighter pretty recently. I think it might have been Paulo Costa.
But what about 5 a.m.?
Yeah,
like,
they put him up at like 5 a.m. and the night of their fight, and they're like, bro, what the fuck? And I think they ended that, and it's not happening anymore. But that is really fucking that is really stupid, bro. Like, give the man a day, if anything. Like, this is the biggest night of his life. That sleep is so fucking important.
Yeah, and what kills me is you couldn't check any other time when you needed a drug test this man. Like you had a whole couple months. What you think just the night before the fight he's just gonna be shooting up steroids, just like,
Yeah,
oh fuck, like never been caught in
we
my
couldn't
career.
have waited until the morning to text him. Like,
Yeah. Oh, but you're not gonna drug test Conor McGregor or John Jones before their fight.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
so dumb.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, if
for
I had to
sure.
give, I'm not gonna throw any money on these two fights. They're too hard. But if I had to give my prediction, I'm gonna go Islam with a 4-1 rounds, a little 48-40, a little 49-46 unanimous decision over Volkanovski. Not because
I
of skill. I think size is going to be the dictating factor. I think the size is going to overwhelm Volk.
I
I
am
want
gonna
Volk to
go.
win though. I'm cheering for Volk.
See, I think I'm gonna go third round submission for Volk.
Dude, have you seen his Ortega couldn't submit Volkanovski though.
Okay, but I don't think it's gonna be a. Okay, I shouldn't have said choke. It's not gonna be a choke. I think he's gonna get him in a Kimura or an Americana, and he's just gonna snap his fucking arm off. Because like Volk's not gonna tap. Let's put it that way. He's not. It's not fucking tapping. But he's either gonna do what Khabib did to Connor. He's gonna get him in a fucking fulcrum choke where it's literally gonna snap his jaw off his body, and you just can't break it. Like it just is what it is. Or he's gonna catch Volk, or somehow get him to the ground. Volk's gonna accept the fucking full guard position, and he's immediately just going to go to a Kimura, step over his face, and then it's just not going to be a fucking fun way to go out. But like, I just think Islam's too technical on the ground. I think the Dagestanis are made in a fucking lab. Like, it's just not fair.
But yeah, hey, that's everything UFC 284. Your usual host, myself and Zach Watts. Tune in.